Help! I've lost my muscle tone and I can't get it back. It's Deborah Atkinson. I'm the host of Flipping 50, and you're listening to the podcast where I share how to move, what to eat, and how to change your mindset so that you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve in the second and better half. And I just couldn't resist. So, certainly not poking fun at the question from our listener today, but I just wanted to have a little fun with that. So, before we dive in, this is a listener question and it comes from Michele. Actually, it comes from a roundup episode that I did very recently. And I'm still really trying to round up all of the potential questions that you might have, listener, about strength training right now or about strength training that you wish you'd known a lot sooner. Something you know now that would have saved you a lot of time, maybe wasted time and energy when you could have been getting better results. I'll put the link to that episode in the show notes, and you can go right to the bottom of it to add your comment if you've already listened to it. This question comes from Michele, and I just couldn't wait to answer it. And we're going into summer and sleeveless season, so I think it's very relevant. Here it is. My arms and biceps and triceps that used to have muscle have mysteriously lost that muscle. Seriously, seems I looked in the mirror one day and I had muscle, and the next I had cellulite. I've learned through all of your podcasts and reading that it is due to estrogen dominance. I'm 51 years old right now. Am I still able to regain some, if not all, that muscle, and especially get rid of this cellulite and fat on the arms? So thanks, Michele, for asking. On behalf of a lot of women who are listening, no doubt. And I'm going to dive into it. In fact, especially the feels like tone yesterday is cellulite today. And I'll talk a little bit about why that phenomenon is true. First of all, I want to also give a nod to estrogen dominance and my good friend Magdalena. So I'm going to link to her website and to her book, really on the topic. I mean, if there is a Bible, she wrote the Bible. So I'm going to get you to the best source possible for reading more because there are a lot of reasons why estrogen dominance can happen. But first and foremost, before I go there, I want to talk to you if you're in the same situation. The rules are changing, you're not sure where to go, and unfortunately, all the voices that you're listening to are telling you a lot of different things. So if you're looking for a filter, and if you'll trust me, for 10 days, I'd like to be your guide. My 10-day Hot Not Bothered challenge is closing like pronto. So if you're in, you have to get in. And I know sometimes you hear that and it's an idle threat and really you can get in. Not the case. I mean it when I say it. We close the doors because when we start everybody at the same time. And day one of our challenge is June 1st. The sooner you're in, the sooner you get access to mobility videos that you may still be able to sneak in one use of, but you get use of all 10 of the videos, the workouts, where you will have zero decision fatigue, except for one thing. You have to decide, my friend, what time of day and when. I'd like it to be morning. You're going to do the workout for the 10-day challenge. Then you're going to make sure that you post it in the Facebook group, and you can get 100% of your registration fee back to apply to your next step with Flipping 50. If you decide that's it, I just want the 10 days, I just want your workouts, I want you to walk me through it, and I want the audios I give you every day right before your workout so that you can listen to what it is you're about to do and get the reinforcement of here's how that's helping your hormones. Here's how that's hormone balancing. So that when you're tempted to do more, or you're tempted to say, well, I was scheduled to do my long run today. Should I do that anyway? I'm going to say, no, 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 no. Just put them on hold, because if you're even inclined a little bit to do the 10-day challenge, what you're doing right now is not working. You can always go back to what's not working now afterward if you choose to do it. But I promise you, more is not better. More is just more, and potentially will make you worse. So join me. I'll put the link in the show notes. If you have a great memory, it's flipping50.com/HNB for hot not bothered dash challenge. And you won't be sorry. I promise. Okay, so we're going to dive in. I want to pick right back up at estrogen dominance. So Michele noticed through reading, she's really categorized herself as that's potentially where she is. You may be the same way, but there are a lot of reasons why estrogen dominance could be occurring. And one of them is excess cortisol, because excess cortisol is blocking progesterone. I lost my train of thought there for a moment. It's not hormonal, I promise. But in this case, that can be coming from a variety of sources, that stress, that cortisol. In fact, it could be coming from exercise. So for those of you who I just pointed out might be inclined to be a too much exercise girl, that could be you. That could be us, sister. So let's consider all the other obvious sources of stress that might be there in your life. Sleep deprivation. So, and that can come from your choice, you're not prioritizing it, or it could come from you're choosing it, but it's not choosing you back. And then there's diet deprivation. You're trying to cut calories and create a calorie deficit. And I won't argue that, yes, we need to do that, but it doesn't come before, and it cannot be in spite of hormone balance. So we have to reach the hormone balance for a small calorie deficit to really do us good. There's plenty of proof that if your hormones are in balance, you can actually eat and have much more flexibility with the amount of food you can eat and not gain weight. In fact, continue to lose weight. So, diet deprivation will cause stress for your body. And too much exercise, I've alluded to, but it's important that you understand diet deprivation plus too much exercise, trying to turn up more exercise, even worse. The others, of course, are emotional work stressors, relationship stressors, financial stressors. We've all had a lot of reasons in the last 14 to 16 months to have more stress. Some things, there were silver linings, but, inevitably, you kind of have to go the roller coaster ride. And that means we may have felt some of those negative stressors as well. So let's dive into the exercise. What and where does it come from? Too much, I've already mentioned. And that can come in a lot of ways. It can come from too frequently, like every day you're not taking a break, too many times a day. Some of you are trying to still fit in. Well, I did something just a walk in the morning, I have to do something else in the night. And that could be too much for you right now. Or it could be you're doing too heavy a weight, too much strength training day and day, not breaking. Could be too little exercise or too little weight stimulus when you're strength training, not really helping you. Could be that you're exercising at the wrong time of day. Hint, hint, when I talked about hot, not bothered, really encouraging you, if you're participating, to carve out time for yourself to do those in the morning. Too little recovery between exercise. So when I say too little or too much exercise, that can be related to this, but not necessarily. You could work really hard. You and I can do hard things. I mean, it's okay. But we then have to compensate with adequate recovery and take that seriously too. And as a part of that, protein. and the overall calories or the overall quality of your entire diet. So I want to come back to Michelle's question and dive into some of the little pieces in here. So she asks, really, when it got to the bottom line, am I able to regain some, if not all, that muscle? I'll come back to the second part in a moment. If you lost that muscle tone and you want it back, my thoughts on that are you and I, if that's us, we have to be thinking, hell yes, you can get it back. Absolutely yes. And it's going to come from a multifaceted approach. All right. So, yes, the exercise, you do need to be doing some exercise, but clearly, if you used to have tone and you were exercising, what you were doing isn't working, right? Something's got to change. So, we will need tweaks to the exercise. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But you also need to deal with those stressors. Check them out, the ones I mentioned. Where do you need to make some changes? Are you tolerating things you shouldn't be tolerating? Are you biting your tongue? Should you speak it out? Should you make some changes in your relationship? Avoid some toxic people, things? And then for your skin, because seeing cellulite is one problem, and cellulite, we all have that subcutaneous, meaning just under the skin fat. It's been there all along. But the reason we see it and it becomes more mattress like, mattress or citrus, take your pick, is because your skin is thinning. And that happens more dramatically right at about the time your estrogen is really taking a nosedive. And if you're in perimenopause, you're still having a cycle, maybe it's not very regular, your estrogen levels could be going up and down. I mean, in general, they're trending down, but they're still coming up, coming down, coming up, coming down. And that's why you actually may feel like a couple of days, you're like, okay, I'm looking good. I got that tone back. And then you come back and it's like, what? It's cellulite again, right? So there may be visible changes literally. And some of that is related to water, water weight. Are you retaining water? And you're probably going to see a little bit more if you are. Are you lifting weight? Are you really well hydrated? So, retaining water, by the way, generally does happen when you're dehydrated. Either that or can happen when you've got way too much, but that's a rare few for doing that. Overachievers, if you're a little OCD, potentially you're going there. But otherwise, the majority of us need just more water, would be do a wonderful thing for an awful lot of things: your skin, your hair, your nails, your digestion, your energy levels, and your ability to think, your appetite levels, so many things, but also for cellulite. So think about doing things from the inside out. So, yes, hydration, nutrition, eat the rainbow. I know we've heard it, it's cliche, but it works. That's why we keep saying it. So, those things that are deeply colored, vegetables especially, fruits also count, but they've got a little higher sugar count. And I know dietitians just hate it when we say, anybody else says, okay, don't eat the fruit, but eat a balance of fruit and more vegetables than fruit as a rule. Just don't eat fruit alone is one of my sayings. Don't eat it naked, right? So put it together with some protein, with some fat, and not necessarily on an empty stomach, because it still can spike blood sugar, especially if you and I, during menopause, are a little bit more sensitive to that. So eat it with something. Nuts and seeds makes a little bit more sense. But you need healthy fats, and you want to make sure you have adequate protein. And collagen can be a great thing to add to your diet now, but please don't confuse collagen protein with the protein that is full of all the essential amino acids and rich specifically in branched chain amino acids that support your lean muscle. Collagen doesn't have an adequate essential amino acid profile to do that. It has lots of great protein for your skin, your hair, and your nails, but you need additional protein that has all the essential amino acids in order to help your muscles. So, You need both in order to rid yourself of cellulite and see it less. So, by the way, it's not going away, but we're going to move it, remove it from sight. Okay. So you're still going to have subcutaneous fat, but ideally, we can improve the health of your skin from all these things and the health of the muscle and bring it back. You're going to probably require a little bit more stimulus, specifically on those lean muscles, and a little more rest between the workouts, as well as more protein to fuel them. Now that you have less estrogen, we need greater stimulus coming from the exercise, greater stimulus from the protein that we eat that supports our muscle protein synthesis, and then prettier skin will also help you. But you've got to get that sleep because that also helps muscle and your skin and joy. Put some joy in your life. Make sure you're having fun because generally your skin is more radiant when you're doing that. So here is the cellulite solution. This is worth the price of the admission for the episode, by the way. You may want to take notes. All right. There is a 5-step series. This is based on research. And probably now it's been 7 years ago. I did first on the deck in my home in Boulder, looking at the Great Divide, or I think I was letting you look at it. I was looking at the camera. I talked about the cellulite solution in a study that supported how to decrease the effects of cellulite with exercise in this specific protocol. About 3 to 4 years later, a brand new study came out, and this is even better, going deeper. So, again, proof and evidence that yes, positive results for cellulite, but here's the way it works. So, if we're talking upper arm cellulite, and there, by the way, is an entire Flipping 50 TV episode about doing this. So, you want to do a warm up, the workout, the strength training workout, interval training, and do myofascial release, meaning foam rolling or using tools, rolling tools or penetration tools like Theragun on those specific areas and then stretching those areas. But all those have to be specific to the site you want to rid the cellulite of. So during a warm up, you're going to use your arms significantly, probably more than you would if you were just going to prepare to go for a walk or a run on any other day, right? So you're going to use some kind of a warm up. Now, what I would choose if you want to target cellulite is some kind of a boxing warm up. Get those punches, your jabs, your crosses, your uppercuts, and your hooks going in your warm up. So start using and getting blood flow and oxygen to those muscles. During your workout, you can do a full body workout, but you want to pay extra attention and do more sets with your chest presses and your rows and your bicep curls and your tricep extensions so that you're using the muscles around where the cellulite is. Then you're going to follow that immediately, not later in the day, but immediately with interval training, boxing. Again, a boxing set, or if you have a rowing machine, great. If you have a swimming pool, you're going to go swimming. You get the idea. It's got to be focused on your upper body. Go right after it. And then you're going to hit that myofascial release. So foam rolling, a little bit hard to foam roll on your arms. And that's where tools that look a little bit like a rolling pin come in handy. One is called the stick. It's literally on my resources page in the Amazon store. It's on the top of the page if you want to check that out. But literally, I just gave you the name, the stick. And it's a great tool. You're going to need potentially somebody else to help you because you're going to roll one arm and you can't really hold on to it with the other. Or if you've got the type of Theragun, it's like a trigger and actually it's a penetration and give you vibration on those arms. But that's also very important. So we're ironing out the fascia that lays over that cellulite. And then you're going to stretch those muscles last. So it's kind of like you iron them out and then we're going to stretch and lengthen them. Really important. So there you have it. 5 steps. You do the warm up, the strength training workout, the interval session, the myofascial release, and then the stretch on those same muscles. Yes, what I tell you, worth the price of admission, right? Okay. So for Michele, I am 51 years old right now. Am I able to regain some, if not all, that muscle and especially get rid of this cellulite and fat on the arms? Yes. You're going to have to work a little harder on it, and potentially that one's not going to let up. So here's the other piece about fat deposits that are in the arms versus, say, the belly. Belly fat responds really well to high intensity interval training and exercise as long as you're doing adequate intensity and really doesn't require much change in diet. So moderate changes. I mean, you can't be eating chips and crackers, all right? But arm fat does not, sadly. So you have to be a little bit tighter. Recreational carbs got to go. You got to, I wouldn't say keto, but temporarily, short term, a few less carbohydrates and cycling your carbs during the day appropriately so you've got them for energy is a good way to look at it. And you can play a little bit. If you go too low in carbs, here's what I experience with my clients and myself, frankly. We're not happy people. We need carbohydrates to create serotonin. Now, I know a lot of people say we don't literally need carbs. We can get by without it. We can get by with fat. We can get by with protein. And I find that some women can do that and can do it short term, but long term doesn't really work for them. So you might try to rotate in and out of that, maybe 14 to 16 days. I love my friend Dr. Annika Becca's Keto Green 16 program, and I have found it's great results doing it short term. Worked really well, and rotating in and out of that works really well because here's the way diet, quote unquote, work. You and I, we've been on one, haven't we? At least, right? And we can't argue that they don't work or they do because short term, any change in dietary habits really will cause some change. So it's long term that things tend to back off and then not show you the positive change. So cycling is a great way to kind of anticipate that, this won't last forever. I shouldn't do this forever. So switching things up. We have a change of seasons no matter where you live. Somewhere may be much more subtle than others, but do the same thing with your body and you'll notice some positive changes. All right, I dropped a lot of little extras today. I'll put all those links in the show notes. And thanks again, Michele, for asking. If you have a question and you're not already in our insiders group, that's on Facebook. You can just look for groups and Flipping 50 Insiders. And a great place to ask questions for our podcast listeners, Flipping 50 TV episode viewers, or YouTube channel subscribers. I'm right there for you. And we try to either sweep through and answer your questions via text or we hang on to them for a future podcast, just like this. Or in the next case of the book, it may appear there. So, what are you waiting for? Let's start Flipping 50 today. And don't forget, my 10-day Hot Now Bother challenge is about to close. I'd love to see you there.